Hello friends! Today we are filming at the British Museum, which I've not filmed at a museum yet, and it's going to be all through selfie filming because this is how we're going to go. So I am here with my friend Elena. We are representing our Greek and Roman camps, and we're going to show you some cool archaeology shit in the British Museum. There is a massive line to get in. I think they've done additional security measures, which completely makes sense, but like that's fine. So the British Museum, I don't know if you guys want a history thing about this. It was one of the first museums to be set up, and basically got a very large collection of a lot of different material. We're just going to be looking at the archaeology stuff today because that's what I care about. But there's some really cool exhibits on right now. There's one in Hokusai, which is like the wave, and everyone's freaking out about it. So maybe we'll go check that out because that'll be kind of cool. It's really warm today, which is really nice, and I'm really sick, so we'll see how this works. Alright, this is the British Museum. They decided to build it like a temple because what is better than mimicking Greek architecture? Got some lovely fake Doric columns going on over here. Got some gods and shit. I'm not gonna name them, can't be asked. It's not actual Greek shit, so we don't care. Let's go look at some actual Greek shit. Someone asked me if orange was the theme of the day. Damn right it is. So we just walked into the Egyptian gallery, and Elena just said, there's a lot of people around this rock, so I assume it's an important rock. For all of you guys who aren't aware, it's the bloody Rosetta Stone, which Elena thinks is an important rock. That's what it is, isn't it? Oh my god, it's an important rock, everyone. Yes, the Rosetta Stone is a 2nd century stone. It's written in Egyptian and Demotic Egyptian and Greek, and it's helpful in translating Egyptian for the first time ever. Okay, so there are lots of stelae in the British Museum, so I'm not going to show you every single one. I'm showing you these ones because they're painted, and painted stelae are really cool. So when you see things that aren't painted, you have to imagine that like the paint's actually gone, like they were painted originally, and that just doesn't survive. So what's really cool about stelae is that you've got the writing, and then you've got these images, and the images are actually part of the writing. So on this top one here, you can actually read that it's like talking about Osiris, because it says Asir on the top on the third column. Well, sorry, it's actually reading that way. It's reading the other way. It says Asir, so it's talking about Osiris who's sitting here, but the food is also part of the inscription as well as being on the image. Oh my god, it's so blurry. Alright, so this is the false door, and what's great about this false door is on the top lintel you can read the beginning of the prayer to the gods for asking what they want in the afterlife. So it starts with these symbols up there. So on the right, the top right hand side, you've got kind of that little rod and that little line. So it's like I'm asking of the gods, and then it says Osiris, and then it has all of Osiris's titles, and then it's what the guy wants. And so he's asking for things like Nefer, which is like beauty, like eternal life, and he's asking for a shit ton of food, like so much food right here. And then there's a bunch of other stuff, but basically, so that is one huge incantation. And then I'm trying to see what's going on the rest of this. But you see, there's the food, the images of food down the side, and that's the food that they want to bring with them to the afterlife. I think the rest of it going downwards is actually the prayer repeated, but I can't find the beginning of it, so I'm just going to assume. Fish, 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 crab. Fish, 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 crab. Fish, 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 crab. There's always one crab, single crab. No more, no less. One crab. So this guy is what we call an Apkallu. It's an antediluvian bird sage that's either represented as a guy or as a guy with a bird head. And what he's doing is he's got his little bucket, and he's got his little pine cone, and he's sprinkling the king with this pine cone water, which is like very bizarre. And he's often portrayed with the sacred tree, which is the sacred date palm tree. And the antediluvian bird sages were considered these creatures that lived before the flood. So Noah's flood comes from Mesopotamian religion. And so these were like really powerful creatures. So this guy's called the medieval three-headed protective spirit, which is fine. I went to Bristol Museum and they called them demons, and I was like, well, not in our sense of demons, but remember when I said the Babylonians had 5 main academic fields, like literature, math, science, astrology, and exorcism. So like demons weren't necessarily like bad, but I bloody love the Apkallu. Like I think low relief is like the coolest thing ever. So you're probably thinking like, why do I care about these lions? So lions are super important in the ancient world because every single culture has like a different shape of lion, and you can actually trace like where craftsmen worked depending on the shape of the lion and the face of the lion. So this is a super Mesopotamian lion. He's like, I'm really angry. But if you notice, so stand on this side with me. How many legs can you count standing from here?
Too many.
There's 1, 2, 3, 4, right?
Yeah.
There's 4 legs. All right, but go to the front. And how many legs are there at the front? There's 2. Okay. This is because you're never meant to look at the lion from the front and the side at the same time. Because if you only put 1 leg at the front, it's not a real lion from the front. But if you only put 3 legs on the side, it's not a real lion from the side. So the way the Assyrians got around this was they put an extra leg at the front, so you view it frontally, and then you separate yourself from the image, and then you view it on the side.
Okay.
Okay, so this is super exciting because I just played Freight Grand Order and I have a problem. This motherfucker right here with his scary face and his wings, the British Museum has decided to say that Monster's identity is uncertain. If you look at a lot of scholarship, they will say this is Kingu, who is a primordial being who a hero fights. The hero is sometimes Enki, who is one of the principal gods of, I'm gonna mess this up, the Sumerian pantheon, and then becomes sort of the Kronos figure in the Assyrian pantheon, because the Assyrian pantheon takes over from the Sumerian pantheon. But this is like primo quality stuff here. I didn't know the BM had this, and this is honestly like the most exciting thing. These guys are the same, where if you look at them on the front, they've got 2 legs. And when you come and look at them on the side, they have 4. I'll show you on this one. There's his 2 legs, and there's his 4 legs, and there's his face. And these guys have horns because they're also divinities. And we're not sure what animal they're meant to be based on, because clearly it's like a lion with wings but also a human head. So a lot of people think that this is like actually taken from the Sphinx, which is an interesting concept of like multicultural like involvement and things like that. But I'm quite a fan of them. They're really, really detailed. So the cool thing about these gates is, so this is the replica of like how the bands would have gone around the gates, and this is the actual bands having been conserved. What's interesting about this is that in the Epic of Gilgamesh, you get a story of Gilgamesh and Enkidu. They go to the cedar forest and they cut down a tree and they use it for the gate. And you know, you're thinking like, oh, the cedar forest is massive. Like, why are they using these massive trees for a gate? But if you think the gate is actually this, it makes perfect sense to go and get a big ass tree to make this gate. So seeing this kind of thing really kind of gives you an idea of visualizations for what's going on in the epic, which is one of my favorite things. Again is the scene of the antediluvian bird sages, was the king in the middle. And what's great about this one is the sacred tree I was telling you about is right over there. The sacred tree is actually a date palm. That is the sacred tree. So this would have been the full scene of that thing I showed you earlier. And it is, I don't know, this is like my favorite. I think this is just the coolest shit ever. Like, I love the tree, and so what's fun things about the tree is that the tree is the part in the middle, and then it's assumed that the flowers around the outside are the lotus, and the lotus represents the underworld because it closes at night and opens during the day. Another idea is that that's actually not a tree, it represents the Apsu, like the primordial underworld river, and it's like protecting the tree. I'm not sure how I feel about that one because it does look kind of like a tree. But like, I'm down to clown. This Apkallu has the sacred tree on both sides, so instead of like sprinkling the king with the pinecone water, he's sprinkling the tree with the pinecone water. I just really love this tree. I just love it so much. You know, people say, oh, you know, ancient art's not that good, and it's like, look at the anatomy of this, like, tell me that's not good. Look at the detail on the king's top, like, it's, they've made so much effort to get the texture and the patterning right for material, and it's like, looking at you, ancient Greeks and Romans, like, the Assyrians, like, have just done so much better in regards to representing textile and representing material, and it's just phenomenal. The most famous part of the lion hunt, because you've got the lion who's trying to bite the chariot, and he's got all this, the arrow sticking out of him, and the king is here, you know, finishing him off with his royal entourage. But what I like about this part isn't this image, it's actually this part, because the lion is being portrayed both frontally and to the side at the same time, just so you can get that really gory image of the arrow going through the skull. And like, I know, like, oh, the poor lions, like, that sucks, but it's just such, you know, the artist's gone to such measures to make sure that you can see that as the image, and it's very powerful. You know, you're walking through here and you're just you know, there's rows and rows of lions which are representative of the dead enemy. You know, the Assyrian king has conquered them. This is what I was talking about earlier with the fact that the Assyrians represent images to the side as well as images from above. So this circle is actually, this is a town. So you've got the houses, you've got the street running through it, but then on the outside you've got the people represented on the flat plane again. So you've got an image from a bird's eye view followed like next to an image that's actually as if you're standing next to it. And the Assyrians, they just don't give a shit. They're just gonna show you what they're trying to show you, and they're just gonna do it in whatever spatial representation they feel like doing. And I love that. This is another scene from Nimrod. I love this one because you've got the king, so the scene is the same on both sides. It's just heraldic, so it's represented on both sides of the date palm tree in the middle. So you've got the king and like his random human-headed, like, antediluvian bird sage friend. But then above the tree you've got the winged disc with the little guy in, and that's Shamash. He's the sun god because he's in his little winged disc. But you're probably thinking, oh, a winged disc, that's Egyptian, isn't it? And like, it is Egyptian, but this is the perfect example of like cross-cultural kind of just taking ideas from other cultures and using them in your own. Except that what the Assyrians do is they add a little tail onto it. They're like, no, I want our sun just to have a little tail, a little bird tail, little cute little bird tail, and they do, and it's awesome. This is part of the battle scene because the Assyrians loved drawing battle, but this is when the soldiers are crossing the river, and as you can see, like this guy here, he's like got his mouth in this tube and he's holding onto the sack. And what this is that they're crossing the river on inflated animal skins. So they're breathing into the animal skins to keep them afloat as they're going across the river. And we only know about that from these representations. Like, this is really important. Like, the Assyrians' attention to detail is what's showing us these things. And I love that a lot. Of course, I don't know why like these suckers had to go in the water when there's these guys on boats, but like I guess there wasn't enough room on the boats for everyone. Which like seems a bit shitty. Like, oh, okay, who's gonna draw lots to see who goes in the water? Like, oh god, it's me again. Get my floaties out. Because I have to make this comment. If you're in a museum, don't fucking touch things when it says don't touch it. Don't touch it. Don't touch it. I'm watching you. Don't fucking touch it. Fuck, how do I turn this on? It's the big boy. He's the big scarab.
I'm glad it's not a real one because that would be terrifying.
A giant dung beetle. And he has a very large pile of poo somewhere. God, what an amazing thing. Bloody love this.
Welcome to the Library of Babylonia, where we have everything from sophisticated maps to inscriptions to servant of a dead god. Okay, that sounds like a legitimate. Sounds like a cool thing. Oh look, the Epic of Creation. Now there is a fun one. This is super important. This is the map, the Babylonian map of the world. That's what the image looks like. I always draw this on everything, and everyone always looks at me funny, and they're like, "That's clearly not a map of the world. It's a map of the world." Now you know that I'm not lying. I'm not making this up. It's a real thing.
So the flood story from Genesis in the Bible comes from the Epic of Gilgamesh. This is a story of Utnapishtim, who comes from an antediluvian city. I mentioned antediluvian earlier, it's the bird sages. So this is a copy of Ashurbanipal's flood tablet, which is not the one from the Epic of Gilgamesh, but it's extremely similar, but you have the animals that are included in it. So the Bible version comes more directly from this, but this is a later version of the one from the Epic of Gilgamesh. So, just so we're aware, this is the origin of the flood story. This is the cool shit. And
Anatolia, which is one of the coolest places for learning about history. Obsidian was massive trading in Turkey. Like before they started, well, in Anatolia, before they started trading tin, which was their main thing, it was all about obsidian. You have obsidian all over the ancient world, just coming from Turkey and then going into Turkey. So they did have volcanoes, but they also traded with the Greek islands. So like this stuff, I know it doesn't look impressive, but this is super cool. And basically, the Anatolian cultures had an obsession with deer. Just put deer on everything. I don't know. Okay, this is a bull. I guess they put bulls on everything too, but there's lots of deer as well. So we got some tablets here, nice cuneiform tablets. Probably not the right size, but these are the kind of things the Epic of Gilgamesh would have been written on, actually. Here we've got one. It's quite interesting. It's a clay tablet inside a clay envelope. So you hope that that is burnt properly. Otherwise, that's going to be real difficult to get out. Oh my god, it's blurry. Sorry about that, everyone. So yeah, love me some clay tablets. You guys know me. I love me some tridents. It's a very large fork. This unusual object was found in a tomb. Love it. I can't tell you anything about it because I just don't know what it is, but it's pretty fun, isn't it? The good shit. This is a decorated mace head with Ningirsua on it, who's one of the gods. Mace heads in ancient Egypt and the ancient Southwest Asia in general, also known as Levant or the Middle East or the Near East, is very important because maces represent kingship and power. Also, look at that bird. Votive statues are objects that were left at tombs to represent the person who left them there, and they would basically pray in lieu of the person, which is why they always have their hands folded. The eyes are bigger because the eyes are the most important part of the votive. They're meant to see the gods, and that's why they all have very weird, large, soulless eyes. And some seal scrolls.
That lady there, she's screaming.
Yeah, she's weird. And I love me some seal scrolls. Seal scrolls are great. Cylinder seals, not seal scrolls. Just gonna ignore that. Oh, you know what I was talking about yesterday with the foundation bricks? Mm-hmm. That's a baked foundation peg instead of a brick. So these are things that they'd bury in houses or like in buildings to like commemorate the building. There you go. Okay, so this is the Ramna thicket and the Standard of Ur, which are some of the most important objects in this collection. The Standard of Ur was excavated a while ago, and it's a battle standard, so it shows kind of like how they prepare for battle. You've got 3 registers of things going on. Now obviously you have one figure who breaks the register, so clearly that's the most important figure right at the top, probably the king. This is super important because it is decidedly older, very Mesopotamian. I mean, like, Mesopotamia is quite old. It's from Ur. It was excavated a very long time ago. But it's just really nice. You know, you learn about this in like every art history course ever, basically. 2500 BCE. I was going to say 3rd millennium, and then I was like, I don't know if 3rd millennium is right, so I'm not going to say it until I actually look, and then I looked and it was correct. So there you go. There it is. And the RAM is just nice. I mean, like, the materials are really, really nice. This is the other side of the Standard of Ur. And on the other side that we showed you before, you had a scene of battle, whereas here is a scene of peace and prosperity because they're having a little symposium party, everyone's sitting down. Again, you've got one figure who breaks the top register, he's the most important guy, probably the king. You've got farming going on, you've got people working, and this is meant to be sort of very dualistic in nature between this scene and the previous scene that we were just looking at. Show this to you guys. Nice. There's probably a lot more interesting stuff about this, but I can't think of it right now. First off, this is a crushed skull, and this actually comes from a queen's grave. And inside the queen's grave, they found, well, inside the precinct of the queen's grave, they found 63 bodies. So, you know, you have your scholars who are like, well, we don't really know if it's human sacrifice. You can't really say it's human sacrifice because blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, it clearly is human sacrifice because it's like 63, like, people, like, all adorned, dressed properly, buried outside a queen's tomb. And this is one of the crushed heads of the soldiers. There were 6 soldiers included. We don't get a lot of instances of this happening in the ancient world, but like when we do have it, people like to ignore it. So we're just going to point it out. Here are more finds from that 63 people sacrifice pit. This sign is saying 68 people. The other sign said 63, so it'd be nice if they would make up their mind. This is another skull excavated with the jewelry on top, and there's a reconstruction of it. So there's another one of these lyres at UPenn Museum. This is the silver one. There was a big controversy about this lyre, if it was actually real or not. But you can see you've got this beautiful heraldic enameling pattern. These deer that are facing each other, and then the lion's eating the stag, and then the other lion alone eating the stag. The first two are heraldic. And you've got this beautiful bull head of the lyre. Important object. I mean, you've got this rosette as well. It's just gorgeous in general. You've got shell lapis lazuli and red limestone. Obviously the strings aren't real, they're just put there so you can understand the recreation, but it's a wonderful piece of work. So I feel like everything I keep talking about is like related to Fate Grand Order, just because I just went to a con. But this is potentially Ishtar or Eresh Kigal. Ishtar is the goddess of love and war, Eresh Kigal is the goddess of the underworld. This is the kind of Babylonian or Assyrian version. They say Mesopotamian, but the Sumerian version was Astarte and Ish-Kerigal or something like that. I can't pronounce the name very well. But the point is that in some stories they're sisters, and in some stories they're two versions of the same goddess. So it could be both. But you know, if you played Fate Grand Order Babylonia, like that's related. It is related. It comes from the thing. But this is like a really important representation of Ishtar, Eresh, Kigal, whichever one you want it to be. It's made of clay that's got straw in it, so it's been tempered with straw, and it was probably in a shrine. Second millennium, so we're a bit later now. But you've also got some other representations of God here. I think this guy's meant to be, what's his face? Ninsun, maybe? Anyway, he's got this crown that's got like 6 horns on it, so it's quite important. And here are some more potential goddesses that could be Lama, but could also be Ishtar herself. This is a really cool image. It's a foundation tablet as opposed to a foundation rod. Still no bricks. We're looking for them. Making an effort. Show us the bricks. Oh, okay. All right. Here we go. Apparently, this is the face of the demon Humbaba. I am not sure why Humbaba is part of the LGBTQ community. This is not me complaining about that. I'm just a bit confused. That's all I want to know. They had this badge with Ishtar, and they were talking about how Ishtar is the goddess who can change and assign gender, which is super interesting. Never heard of that concept before. Totally not going to diss it, but I just want to know. Okay, I guess we'll go look at the thing in a minute. Apparently, it's the LGBTQ thing because it's about the Epic of Gilgamesh, which you know I'm about. Okay, that's probably a really weird picture of my face. Run down before we read the sign for anyone who's remotely interested. I love the Epic of Gilgamesh with a burning passion. It's about dudes being bros. It is a story of friendship and love. Lots of hand-holding, death and sadness. You should read it. It's free online. Seriously, you have no reason not to read it. Anyway, so the British Museum is doing this thing on exploring LGBTQ histories, which is very important. I'm also annoyed that we went through the whole Greek gallery without seeing this represented at all. So maybe it's like an upper floor thing. Who knows? But this side's gonna be good. All right. I'm gonna switch this. Alright, so let's talk about the Epic of Gilgamesh. We've got Gilgamesh and Enkidu, and Gilgamesh has a dream. Yeah, you can read that yourself. And so here we have some things. When Enkidu dies, Gilgamesh greets his friend. Yeah, so the British Museum is being like, it's totally not gay, but it totally could be gay. It's totally gay. British Museum, don't lie to people. Don't lie to people. Okay, I guess they're making an effort. Good job, British Museum. I'm proud of you. I know I'm showing you a sign and you want to see objects, but the sign is important. So before I talk about this dog, I just want to point out that sign made me really happy. And there's lots of hand-holding in the Epic of Gilgamesh, and again, you should read it. This is a duck weight. It's a measure of weight that was used by the Assyrians, and this is in the Kassite one, but that's fine, and the Sumerians, in order to accurately measure and price things for selling.
Why is it a duck?
What? Yeah. This is shaped like a duck. They were like, let's use ducks. I don't know, ducks, they float. Seems like a good thing to use for weight measure. Anyway, that's a weight. And they're all duck shaped, all of them. Duck weights. If you learn one thing today, it is about Kassite boundary stones, which are the coolest thing ever. Kassite boundary stones are what we assume have the original representations of the zodiac on them. So what you see is you've got all these animals, right? You've got this little cow, you've got this little, like, thing, and you got this other thing, and these are like these totem creatures that aren't mythological creatures. Also, you got Scorpion Man. I love Scorpion Man. He's from the Epic of Gilgamesh, and these are thought to be the first versions of the zodiac. But wait, there's more. You see Snaky Man over here. That is the chthonic snake. It's the Kassite version of Apophis. It is the underworld snake. Ooh, underworld snake! Boundary stones are really awesome. I love these things. For those of you who have never been to the museum in Germany, they have basically the majority of pieces of the Ishtar Gate there, which is from Nebuchadnezzar II's reign in the 7th to 6th centuries BCE. This is one of the lions from the famous Lion Gate. I think it's the Lion Gate and the Ishtar Gate, the same thing, but I might be wrong on that. It's the Lion Gate because it's a lion. And these again are a bit like the Lahmu that we saw earlier, where these you would be processing into the city through this gate, and these lions would be on the wall next to you. Now these are great because the color is so well preserved because of the glaze, and it's phenomenal to see them. I should probably say that for the record, if you imagine this big prism was just written with the Epic of Gilgamesh on it rather than whatever the hell is on it, that's what the Epic of Gilgamesh. Alright everyone, so before Egypt is unified by Narmer, there's two kings, the Scorpion King and Narmer. Narmer is also possibly the Catfish King, who is supposedly the king of Lower Egypt because it's upper, which Narmer is also the king of at the time during the unification. So here we have King Narmer. This is a cast of the palette, it's not the real one, or whatever, with his mace, fighting enemies, unifying Egypt, defeating the Scorpion King. This is it. This is lit. I'm not lying about the Catfish King. Catfish King! So I'm not gonna take a video of it for like respect purposes, but behind us is the case of one of the oldest mummies in ancient Egypt. Basically, mummification was actually discovered. It wasn't something that they thought about before. In the middle pre-dynastic period, they started burying people in deserts in like rock-cut tombs, and then when they went back to them, because there was like this whole process of re-inhumation in a lot of ancient cultures, when they went back to them, they realized they were mummified. So they started to improve on the process of mummification, actually use it as the to like being put in the ground. So there is a mummy over there. I am not going to film any mummies because I don't think it's necessarily respectful. So I'm just going to tell you about them, and that's what we're going to do. So there's a really old one over there. It's like 5,000. He's like 5,500 years old. That's really cool. Since we're not going to be talking about mummies, we're going to look at like mummy grave goods, and like beadwork was extremely important in regards to covering the shroud. And you can see like some of these beadwork is just fantastic. It's absolutely phenomenal. And you've got textiles surviving alongside beadwork because of how dry and desiccated the environment is. And it's just phenomenal. The Book of the Dead, as you may know, is basically the spells that the dead person was required to know to get to the afterlife, to defeat a series of monsters on the way, to complete the catabasis, and also to get into the afterlife. And here you have Anubis leading the dead person to the scales, Anubis and Thoth weighing the scales, and then Horus being like, yeah, okay, you're through, go see my dad Osiris, he's hanging out. But this is where we get these texts from. The pyramid texts and coffin texts also have versions of the Book of the Dead, but the main one is the Book of the Dead text that we found. There are lots of versions of it. I'm not even gonna try and read this because the spell's really hard. So I'm just gonna show them.